Pablo Picasso is one of the world's most famous artists. He invented Cubism, also studied blues period, and invented and dabbled with a rose period. Today we're going to talk about how Melinda from Speak and Pablo Picasso are related and connected, either through the artwork and their personality. Pablo Picasso was born in Spain in 1981. He was a child prodigy and finished his first painting at 9. Picasso's father, José Ruiz y Blasco, was a painter and art teacher who quickly picked up on the fact that his son was special. He began Picasso's art education at 7 years old. Ruiz was a strict academic who believed that artists should learn by copying the great masters as well as plaster casts and live models. Picasso's early pencil drawings and oil paintings show how skilled he was as a child. His earliest painting, The Picador, was completed when he was just 9 years old, and by 13 he had been admitted to the School of Fine Arts in Barcelona. Incredibly, he had been able to complete the rigorous entrance exam, which typically took 1 month to complete, in just a week. Not only was Picasso a painter, but he did much more than painting. He was a sculptor, ceramicist, poet, playwright, and set designer. In terms of set design, Picasso began a collaboration with the Paris-based company Ballet Russes during World War I. He designed Cubist sets and costumes for several productions, which have become more celebrated over time. The collaboration is also where Picasso met his first wife, Olga Konakalova, who was the dancer in the company. Poetry came to Picasso later in life, with him beginning to write in earliest in 1935 after the end of his first marriage. Between 1935 and 1959, he wrote over 300 poems. In the 1940s, he wrote 2 full-length plays, Desire Caught by the Tail and The Four Little Girls. Both were surrealist works written in a stream of conscious style. Picasso was once suspected of stealing the Mona Lisa. In 1911, when Picasso was 29 years old, Leonardo da Vinci's Mona Lisa was stolen from the Louvre. French poet Guillermo Apollinaire was brought in as a suspect and it implicated his friend Picasso, which led to the artist being brought in for questioning. Both men were eventually exonerated. 2 years later, it was discovered that an Italian Louvre employee, Vincenzo Peruggia, stole the painting because he believed it belonged in an Italian museum. Picasso is one of the world's most prolific painters. With a career that lasted over 75 years, Picasso had plenty of time to create, and create he did. Picasso didn't just produce artwork, he oozed creativity and used every opportunity to produce material. According to the Guinness Book of World Records, he created 13,500 paintings and designs, 100,000 prints and engravings, 34,000 book illustrations, and 300 sculptures and ceramics. No other artist has come close to being so prolific during their lifetime. All of this information was found at mymodernmet.com. So the 3 main periods of Pablo Picasso's life are the blues period, the rose period, and the cubism period. As you can see, in the blues period, Picasso focused on only painting with a blue hue on top of every piece of artwork he did. This period didn't last too long, but it is some of the most famous of his works, including the painting The Old Guitarist, which is featured on the left of this slide. The second period was the rose period, which lasted an even shorter amount of time in his life, but was consistent in that it almost always featured humans and in some way or fashion included roses in the painting. As you can see in the second painting, the roses are both the crown on this young man's head and there's roses in the wings that are featured behind him. Pablo Picasso is most well known for his Cubism period. Cubism consists of 3 different sections: broken mirror, rearranged, and geometric pattern, which we will look at next. First, let's talk about what abstract art is. Abstract art is art that does not look like real life. While it's almost always based in some kind of reality, meaning it's copied off of something in real life, it has been reflected or manipulated in a way so that it doesn't look exactly like what is real. As you can see on this slide, you see on the left-hand side Picasso's abstract self-portrait and then an actual photo of what he was using to create that self-portrait. The first way Cubism was included in Picasso's repertoire was the broken mirror effect. In the broken mirror effect, Pablo Picasso took ordinary objects like people and trees, and he sort of created a look that looked broken. So I want you to pause this video now and look at your sheet. In what ways is Melinda like the broken mirror paintings of Picasso? Consider her physical looks. We know that she struggles with her lips being chapped. We know that her body image is not very positive. Then also think about her personality. She struggles with making friends. She kind of feels broken inside. She feels down on herself, and she sort of feels out of touch with reality at some points. Next, we have the rearranged, which is Pablo Picasso's second style in his Cubism period. In the rearranged style, you'll see that he takes, again, ordinary objects, mostly people, but he draws them in a very abstract way by rearranging their body parts. So you'll see on the left, you'll see the woman has two eyes, her hair is not even on top of her head, the shoulders have been misplaced so they're not square like most people, her nose is not exactly in the center of her head, and on the right-hand side, you'll see that Pablo Picasso has drawn this in a way that the arms look misplaced compared to the legs. The head looks like it's coming off the back of the right leg. And you can even see that he may or may not have more than 5 toes on his left foot. So I want you to pause this video and answer the second question. In what ways is Melinda like the rearranged paintings of Picasso? Think about how she's interacting in her life. She feels like her life is all mixed up and things are not organized. It's like chaotic around her because she can't envision her life very clearly. She sees things differently than maybe some of her other classmates might, and even very differently from what her parents perceive as normal. So think about how in her mind she has rearranged her reality in order to fit what she's currently experiencing. Finally, we have the geometric shapes. Again, Pablo almost always used ordinary objects, and oftentimes a lot of people were featured in his artwork. And in this period, he uses various shapes to create his portraits. So you'll see on the right-hand side, it's called Girl with a Boat, and you'll see the boat is made almost entirely of various triangles of different shapes and sizes. You can see that her head is a hexagon and that her feet are various almost like fish shapes, and the use of plaid or squares in the fabric that represents the floor. On the left-hand side, you see more of like an Egyptian style artwork, but you'll see again lots of triangles, lots of squares, and lots of lines. So you can see how everything looks very boxy almost because he's using different kinds of geometric shapes, and rarely does he use circles in order to draw or create what it is he wants to create. So finally on your sheet, it asks you, in what ways is Melinda like the geometric shape paintings of Picasso? So consider how, because her life is so chaotic, that perhaps Melinda needs structure, just like Pablo Picasso uses structure to form these images, right? The structure being he has to have different shapes to create what he's looking at. What also talks a lot about in the book about her style of clothing, right? She wears clothes that are too big, they're very boxy, they create almost like a very square-ish shape on her body. And then finally, you might even consider like how she presents herself to other people. She presents herself very closed off or very like sharp around the edges. She doesn't have a lot of warmth about her. She's very much internally thinking of various things. Finally, the last question asks you, why do you think Melinda feels a strong connection to Picasso's artwork? So I want you to think about the various periods and styles that we've talked about and what you listed above to think about, why is she so drawn to Pablo Picasso's artwork in the book? What is it about his artwork and his way of thinking and creating that makes her inspired to go out and do something creative with her tree project? Finally, what you're asked to do at the bottom of the sheet and at the back is you're doing what's called a one-pager. A one-pager is when you decorate or create an entire sheet of paper in a particular way related to a book. So in the center, you're being asked to draw a tree using one of the above types of Picasso's cubism. So you're going to either draw your tree in a broken mirror style, which you can see an example here of a guitar in a broken mirror style at the center of the page. It looks like it's been sort of shattered and pieced back together. You could look at the rearranged style, which is the one on the right-hand side. On the left-hand side, where you can see where the various pieces of the guitar have been misplaced. Or finally, you could do a geometric shape like the one on the right-hand side, where you see that everything is entirely made of like squares, triangles. He does use some circles in this one with the scrolls and the waves in the background. Okay, but you are drawing your picture of a tree, just like Melinda's art project, using one of these styles. And you're doing that in the center box on the back. In the upper left on the back sheet, you are listing 5 adjectives that describe Melinda. So think of 5 really good words. So try to culminate and think about, what is she like as a whole person, and choose 5 words to describe her. In the upper right-hand column, you're going to look for an important quote about Melinda or her artwork. Okay, and I want you to find that from pages 120 to 125, because that's when she's looking at her art project. And that's when she starts really getting into Pablo Picasso's style. On the bottom left, you are to write one word that you think accurately describes the mood of the book right now. So in one word, how would you describe the mood of the book? And you're going to put that word in that box and then decorate the box. And then at the bottom right, you are going to explain how the tree becomes a symbol for Melinda and her actions and attitudes in the book. Okay, so think about, what does a tree usually stand for? How has her project changed from the very beginning when she was drawing it, struck by lightning, to now? What is she now trying to do with her artwork, and how does that show how she is also transitioning and changing in the book? Okay, and finally, around the border of the back page, you are to draw or write words that describe the themes or the common topics of the book. Okay, and if you're really struggling with this one, I highly suggest that you look at the example sheet that I've attached in Schoology underneath this video. It will show you exactly kind of what I expect your project to look like by the end. Okay, keep in mind that you are turning this in, so it should look like a finished piece of work. It must have color, and you do need to complete all of the tasks on the back. So the entire page should be finished before you leave class today. Alright, if you still have questions after you watch this video, feel free to shoot me an email over the weekend if you need to. I'll definitely be on my email and can help you out anytime. Best of luck.